Did you know that almost all bank fees are negotiable? The most painful and expensive fees are usually overdraft fees, which is the fee your bank charges if you don't have enough money in your checking account to cover a purchase. Of course, the best way to avoid overdraft fees is to not let them happen in the first place. Set up automatic transfers and keep a cash cushion in your account. I keep about $1,000 in my checking at all times, he says, but mistakes do happen. Most banks understand that people are occasionally forgetful, and they'll waive a first-time fee if you ask. After the first time, it gets harder, but can still be done if you have a good excuse. Remember, they want to keep you as their customer. A well-executed phone call can often make a difference. But when calling, keep in mind that you should have a clear goal to get your fee erased. And you should not make it easy for companies to say no to you. Here's where it gets interesting. He says, here's how I negotiated my way out of a $20 overdraft fee and a $27.10 finance charge from Wells Fargo. Back when I had an account there, he says. I had transferred money from my savings account. I will say that something that he mentioned earlier is that his dad was like an extreme negotiator. So he grew up with this habit of negotiation in a way that he didn't have the ick about it. Like most Americans, like we don't want to negotiate because he says, we don't want to look cheap and we don't want to like make it difficult for people. But he's never been ashamed of negotiating. He said that once his dad was about to close on a car and he walked away from the deal when in the last minute as he was going to sign, he was like, can y'all throw in some $50 floor mats? And they were like, no. And he was like, oh, okay, never mind. I don't want the car. And he walked away, didn't care. So that's how hard up his dad was about negotiating. So he says, I had transferred money from my savings account to my checking account to cover a temporary shortage, and the transfer arrived one day late. I saw the overdraft fee, sighed, and called the bank to get it waived. Here's how that went. He says, hi, I just saw this bank charge for overdrafting and I'd like to have it waived. The bank rep says, I see that fee. Let me see here. Unfortunately, sir, we're not able to waive that fee. It was some BS excuse about how it's not waivable. Bad things to say here. Are you sure? Don't make it easy for them to say no to your request. Is there anything else I can do? He says again, imagine if you were a customer service rep and someone says this. It will make your life easier to just say no. As a customer, don't make it easy for companies to say no. Well, this Indian author told me I could. Have you read this book? It's called I Will Teach You to Be Rich, and I love it because nobody cares, but it would be cool if 1,000 customers called their banks and said this. He said, okay, that's the other thing that you don't want to say. Don't give up here. It's easy to walk away, but there is a better way. Try this instead. Well, I see the fee here, and I'd really like to get it waived. What else can you do to help me? Repeat your complaint and ask how they can constructively fix it. At this point, about 85% of people will get their fees refunded. I have hundreds of comments from people on my blog who have taken this advice and saved thousands of dollars in fees. But in case the rep is obstinate, here's what you can do. And before I even move on, I'm going to tell you as a person that, here's for me. They do waive the first time, okay? They will waive the first fee. And sometimes if you're on the phone with the right rep who is trying to get you off the phone and they're getting agitated with you and they feel like you're not going to get off the phone, they will escalate it to a supervisor. The supervisor's job is to reiterate that information, okay? They're supposed to hold it down and be like, no, we cannot. But sometimes you can slide on in there and get that fee removed. Bank rep says, I'm sorry, we can't refund that fee. He says, I understand it's difficult, but take a look at my history. I've been a customer for more than 3 years, and I'd like to keep the relationship going. Now, I'd like to get this waived. It was a mistake, and it won't happen again. What can you do to help? The bank rep says, 1 second, please. I see that you're really a good customer. I'm going to check with my supervisor. Can you hold for a second? Being a long-term customer increases your value to them, which is one reason you want to pick a bank you can stick with for the long term. And the fact that you didn't back down at the first no makes you different from the 99% of other customers. This is so true. It's worth it to, if you're going to have a bank, to be with your bank for a long time. The bank rep comes back. Sir, I was able to check with my supervisor and waive the fee. Is there anything else that I can help you with today? That's all I had to do. This doesn't work for just overdraft fees. It can also work for certain processing fees, late fees, ATM fees, credit card fees too, y'all. I learned this lesson the hard way. I lived in New York for a summer when I was doing an internship. I decided not to open a bank account while I was there because it would take time and I was lazy. So I just used those ATMs left and right and ate the $3 charges, $1.50 from my bank and $1.50 from the ATM each time. Now I feel dumb. because I just talked to a friend who recently moved to New York for a few months. She didn't want to open a bank account for such a short time either, but instead of just shrugging and saying, oh well, she actually called her bank. She asked them if they would waive the ATM fees while she was there. No problem, they said. She saved more than $250 just by making a phone call. Remember, with a customer acquisition cost of more than $100, banks want to keep you as their customer. So use this information to your advantage and make the call next time you see any fees on your account. And again, this is something that's so hard for us, and people have to tell us this because we're so uncomfortable with the concept of negotiating. We don't want to advocate for ourselves in that way because, like you said, you don't want to be made to be cheap. You don't want to be looked at as cheap or difficult. But you're just advocating for yourself. You argue with people in your real life all the time. Why don't you want to argue and advocate for yourself in those professional settings? And it really is likely that it'll happen for you. I think sometimes we don't realize just how likely it is because we stop at the first pushback. As soon as somebody tells us, oh, I'm sorry, it's our policy, there's nothing that we can do, we're like, oh, okay, well, I guess it's my policy. Be difficult. Be diligent. Get those fees off. Now, this is not telling you to be irresponsible and to be racking up fees every week on purpose, but he's saying if you are a person who has a good history and you don't do these things regularly and you don't accomplish fees, use that to your advantage and advocate for yourself. Like I always say, don't be deviant on purpose, you know. But anyway, this is coming from I Will Teach You to Be Rich. It's a 6-week program where he walks you through the process, and this is for anyone at any income level. And rich is a relative term because he's not saying rich, I'm going to have all this money, but he's saying that you're going to be in more control of your money, and he helps you to define what a rich life is for you and then take the steps to get to making that life a reality. He's very entertaining and it's a very easy read, and I think that if you read it, I always say read it all the way through, and then once you read it all the way through, go back and work through the exercises week by week so that you can be on the right track to working through these things. And there are some pretty good reviews of the people who actually use the book. Some of them in as little as like 6 weeks they saw results and turned their lives around. Some of them up to a few years, and some of them are very, very drastic, right? So read it at your own risk. Take your time. Don't feel offended by anything that he's saying because he's really not trying to put you in a box. He's just trying to help you to change your perspective on the way that you think about what a rich life is. And he's trying to help you to be more aggressive and diligent about getting to the life of riches that you desire.